One of the big concerns in training is losing your gains if you take time off. And this is something that is really common in people who enjoy the training process and like to go to the gym and like to work hard. You see it all the time. People are afraid to go on vacation or take a couple weeks off, or manage an injury via decreasing the amount of work that they're doing overall. And it's a valid concern, but it's one of those like unfounded, and frankly, just if you've been training consistently, taking some time off or decreasing frequency for certain intervals is probably advantageous to your health and longevity in the gym compared to like trying to grind things out all the time. I actually had a conversation with one of my clients this morning, and she's super consistent, but she was getting some feedback on her, from her body in the form of a little bit more moans and groans, a little bit more back pain. And you could tell that the idea of dropping the work she was doing down was kind of anxiety inducing because you work so hard to develop those things, right? But the physical qualities that we develop in the gym are pretty resilient. They're not just going to go away if we take a little bit of time off or if we decrease our frequency. For the most part, for a lot of us, we're training so that we can feel better generally. And if you're like me, you like going to the gym because it's a hobby, helps you mentally, helps you physically, but also like you can take it too far. You can, and I do this, just like anybody else, you try to train more in hopes of getting better faster, right? And to some degree, there is truth that the more frequency, the more practice you can get, the better you're going to get at things. But also the physical qualities we're trying to develop require us to incur fatigue, which the more fatigue we incur, the more our body is basically going to have to recover in order to adapt. And that's where it gets tricky. Just remember that, strength, if you've developed some muscle and the neurological drive to build strength, like your strength is going to take 2 to 4 weeks to detrain significantly. So even if you don't take complete rest and you just train like, a little less of a frequency, you're going to maintain your strength and maybe even build strength by just dropping frequency. So it's one of those things you hear it all the time. It's like, oh, I took a couple days off and I just came back and I was so weak. Like that's just one data point, right? Your power, meaning like your ability to generate force quickly, decreases a little bit faster than that because there's just such a high neurologic component to power training. It's a little bit more like 1 to 2 weeks. Still, if you show up and you get a sufficient stimulus, when you start to come back, it's going to come back relatively quickly as well. Muscular endurance, same type of thing, meaning just like higher volume work is going to detrain at the rate of about 2 to 4 weeks. So again, if you take a little bit of time off, it's not that big a deal. Endurance, cardiovascular endurance, actually, because of the transient nature of like how our cardiovascular system works versus like neurological and muscular adaptations associated with strength, like your top end performance is going to dip a little bit faster with cardiovascular endurance. But again, it's not like it can't come back pretty quick. The big things are you going to train for a long time? Your level of training and the built up capacity that you have developed is like ultimately the bigger thing, because if you've got a really strong base, taking some time off is probably going to be advantageous for you and you're going to get back into the groove pretty well. And then actually taking rest periods or decreasing workload during certain phases of life is probably going to help keep you healthy so that you can train harder for longer. Your age, your nutrition, your recovery, all of that stuff matters. The overarching stress of your life also matters. But don't be afraid to take some time off from the gym, or don't be afraid to decrease frequency or decrease the intensity of your work. There's a lot of variables in good training, and it's something that you will benefit from learning about like yourself, like what you tolerate, what you care about. Some people love to go to the gym 3 times a week and they can handle that. They like, hey, I don't need to go any more than that. I'm making the gains that I want. Some people love freaking going to the gym. That's awesome. If you like going to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, great. If you have the time and the bandwidth to do that, sweet. Just realize that the ability to recover, your ability to recover is like not extensive, right? So that person that likes to go 3 times a week and that person that likes to go 6 times a week, they both have to figure out the amount of work that seems to make sense to help them go in the direction that they want to do. And resting and frequency and the volume that you like do in the gym matters. So just remember that. Don't be afraid to take some time off, especially if you're feeling moans and groans. Don't be afraid to back down on the intensity, because the best ability is availability. That's all I got for today. Appreciate you. Peace.